The first word that comes to mind when thinking of Clark Hipolito is energy. I met Clark while running a clothing store in Raleigh, North Carolina around 2003-2004, and I just remember him as being one of the most positive energies I've ever come across up to that point in my life. He was always the guy who gave you the handshake followed by the bear hug, and simply walked with an air of confidence, yes, but more importantly, positivity and enthusiasm. As the owner of the art company, he's an artist both of projects small and huge, both literally and figuratively. He's done small pieces for friends. He's painted standard polyurethane surfboards to look like they were made from wood. He's done murals on the side of music venues, while at the same time handpicked to do a mural inside the Carolina Hurricanes arena when they first came into town. His road was paved, however, when a local restaurateur came calling, which was only piggybacked by a little show called Sex and the City. You can absolutely feel his energy when listening to him speak in this episode. His passion and ever-present drive to do what he loves is clear, and he's honestly one of only a handful of people I try to see when I go back home to North Carolina. We talk about cars, watches, architecture, music, wine, and of course art, and the ins and outs of how exactly Clark does what he does. We talk about the recession and how having the biggest house and owning too many things isn't really cracked up to what it's made out to be. He has an unabashed honesty to him. He's an active guy who talks with his hands, so the mic was on the move in this one, and his dog Phyllis even makes an appearance or two. But this one was a fun one for sure, so I think you'll enjoy it. I'm your host, Wesley Smith, and you're listening to the Standard Age Podcast. Mr. Clark.
Hey, here I am in the house, in the building.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. So what's going on, man? What's going on with you?
Well, it's been a while since we've seen each other. Wanted to catch up, obviously, but with the podcast, it's really just about entrepreneurship and those who, those with drive, basically. Nice. So. Just jumping off, man, can you talk a little bit about like where you grew up and kind of what that was like?
Well, so I grew up, so it's funny. I was born in Connecticut, but I was raised in South Jersey. Not Jersey Shore, like not that kind of Jersey, but South Jersey with Vineland. And it was cool, a rural town. It was really kind of like the sticks of Jersey, more farm than, pollution, I guess, so it was, I was a doctor's kid, and life was easy. Life was good. Went to prep school and surrounded by a lot of really good people,
What kind of doctor was it your dad?
Dad, yep, anesthesiologist.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he did that. So, it was nice. My childhood was awesome.
Yeah.
But, it's funny, like Vineland, when I was there, it's all I really knew, Vineland, I don't even know what to compare it to, but anyway, it's just a very small rural town. Or, I'm sorry, a big rural town is what I should say.
Sure. Okay.
But, and then I moved to the city, I went to school at Seton Hall, and then I was like kind of in the city and that whole vibe, and it was like a life changer, It was,
yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Going from like farmland to like city life, it was quite the jump off,
So you're into like cars and motorcycles and stuff these days. Were you into that stuff growing up too?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Dirt bikes. So I think I got my first dirt bike. I was in 4th or 5th grade. I went to go visit my aunt in Massachusetts. It was winter. It was like snowing like crazy. And my dad and my twin sister and I were kind of driving around. My mom was with my other aunt, whatever, just hanging out. And we passed a Suzuki dealership, and I said, "Oh, Dad, dude, we got to stop, man. Come on, let's look at these motorcycles." And my dad loved motorcycles anyway, but it's kind of forbidden. Mom was like, "Hell no." But anyway, we got there and we saw this little JR50. It's like about, yay big, knee high. And my dad was like, "Oh man, that thing's cool." I'm like, "Yeah, let's get it." And he's like, "Oh, your mom's gonna kill us." I was like, "Fuck mom." And I didn't say fuck mom, but I was like, "Fuck it, whatever." Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Put that thing in the trunk of the car and drove it home, or drove it to my aunt's house. And my mom freaked the fuck out. Obviously, she's like, "What the fuck? What are you nuts?" They're yelling, or my mom's yelling at him, my dad. And then my dad's like, "Just don't worry about it, man. She'll get over it." Right. So I wrote it all around.
So Pops was cool.
Mega cool, yeah.
That's awesome.
And then, anyway, so we drove it back home from Massachusetts back to Jersey, and I was the coolest kid on the block from that day. I felt like I was. But, I had like prior 12 or 13 bikes after that, just one after, hey, dog. That's Phyllis, doggy dog, extraordinaire.
Phyllis.
Anyway, whatever. Motorcycles, yes, forever. Always liked them. My dad was into cars, always. He was like he is a Lotus guy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he was like all the Lotus things, and then
I got a Lotus podcast coming out.
do you really?
Pretty soon.
Nice.
With a guy that like basically hot rods.
Oh, cool.
Lotus.
Hot rods, Lotuses.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Light car to hot rod, man.
Yes.
I mean, those cars weigh nothing.
Power to weight ratio, baby.
Ridiculous. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mom stayed at home? Did mom work?
Mom was a nurse, but she was a nurse, but yeah, she's basically stayed at home. I mean, she didn't really do much.
Okay.
She when my dad passed away, she went back into nursing a little bit, but whatever. Mom
Right.
was pretty good too. So
Now you have a sister, right?
twin sister
Twin sister?
down in the ATL.
Oh, okay.
She's a chiropractor. Yeah, she's awesome too. So
Sweet.
she's loving it down there. It's kind of funny because when I was like living up, in the city and all that stuff, and I remember after a couple of years, I was like, all right, this is cool and all, but I got to get the hell out of here. It's just too much fun. It's hard to save money when you're having a good time all the
Right,
time.
sure.
So anyway, my sister's trying to get me to come down to Atlanta. And after living in New York, I was like, Atlanta's cool, but man, come on now, dude. I mean, it's not the same as New York. And anyway, I was passing through. I stayed there for a little while, and I came home, or was heading back up to Jersey, New York, and all that stuff, and stopped in Chapel Hill on Franklin Street. And that was when I got the bug for North Carolina, man. I was like, oh shit, Carolina girls, what?
Right. And it was, college town, partying all the time.
Absolutely. I was 20.
What year was that?
94?
Yeah. So I think they won the championship in 93.
Something like that. Yeah.
So they were probably still vibing on that.
Totally, dude. And I just remember, the whole idea of the South. I changed my whole vibe of my impression of what the South was, because I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't know. I think in Mayberry or something like that. I always thought it was some kind of like
right
hick shit or something.
Yeah,
like that,
some hillbilly.
Yeah. But no, man, like Raleigh and Chapel Hill. I mean, I was just like, wow, this is like a cool town. There's some really intelligent people here. The weather's really nice. Cost of living's great. There's beautiful women. Like, New York women and Carolina girls are totally different, I think.
Very different.
Yeah, so you got the whole style factor up top, and, that's super hot, and it's in that way, whatever. But down here, there's, like, all the blonde hair, blue eyes, Carolina girls,
Right.
And I was like, holy shit, man. Wow, this is fucking awesome.
That's amazing.
So I was like, hey, man, I gave it a year. I was like, let's give it 1 year. Let's see how it goes here. And if it's awesome, it's awesome. If it sucks, go to Philly, go back to New York, go somewhere up top again. And
right, start over.
Start over again. But, yeah, I never left.
That was after school, right?
Yeah.
So what did you study at Seton Hall?
So I went to school originally for business, and then, I got a business and a design degree,
Mm-hmm.
art and design degree. So, yeah, a little bit of both. But honestly, I think I studied more my networking skills.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I played tennis in college. I was a teak in Seton Hall as a fraternity frat boy, but not really. And I played tennis as a frat boy, and I worked at MTV. That was my first internship, and I kind of stayed there. And, it was just all social life, man. I didn't do shit.
This is late 80s, early 90s MTV.
Yeah.
So that was like
The real
MTV.
shit. Yeah, when
music television.
There was real music, not
right.
Yeah, I think. Well, it's funny when I first started working there. Real World season 1 was
New York.
Yeah, that was I was around for that, which I didn't have anything to do with that, but talk about the infancy of the demise of regular music television.
In the beginning of reality TV.
Exactly.
Right.
All started then. I didn't see it coming though. I didn't know. I was there. We were talking about Beavis and Butthead earlier. I was there for those days. MTV Sports.
Yeah.
MTV Raps. Unplugged.
Ed Lover.
Minutes. Yeah, Ed Lover. What?
Ed Lover.
The Jon Stewart Show.
That's right.
I helped him do his first logo. The very for his when he was working at MTV before he moved on to bigger pastures, whatever. But yeah, man. I mean, it was a really good time.
That's amazing.
Loaders around. I mean, it's just a fun time.
What kind of music were you into back then?
Shit, Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam, like grunge, and also I liked the Beastie Boys, and it was different, but mostly Primus.
Sure.
I liked heavy shit.
So you were hanging out with Les Claypool last night?
Last night, man. Holy wow. Yeah, I love that guy.
That's insane. How'd that come up?
Well, so oh God, I don't
Speaking
know,
of
3,
Primus.
4, 5 years ago, something like that. I'm heavily involved in this thing called the Triangle Wine Experience, which is it's a big organization that raises money for these underdeveloped children, and it's the Frankie Lemon Foundation is who it's for. But anyway, it's a big wine event. Turns out I was doing a summer wine event here in town, and Les Claypool's wife, Cheney, owns a winery. She has her own wine label. So she was there. We all met and just hit it off instantly, So that was when we first met. And then it seems like the last every time he comes through town, we always catch up again. So, this time he was with Sean Lennon, which is interesting.
Right, yeah.
And
John Lennon's son, Sean.
Sean,
who's
wow.
a musician in his own right.
He is. And, they play. So there was the Claypool Lennon Delirium is the name of their new gig together. And it's awesome. I mean, they're badass, He's a weird dude, though. I'm not going to lie. Sean, sorry, no offense.
Where did they play? Did they play last night?
Yeah, Red Hat.
Oh, Red
So
Hat.
they played Red Hat with Flaming Lips,
Wow.
who are also out there and awesome.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then you ended up at Pratt at some point, right? Didn't you?
No. I didn't go. I had a bunch of friends that went to Pratt, but no, I tagged. I did a lot of art with a lot of my friends who were Pratt students.
Okay, got it.
I
don't know why I thought you went to Pratt.
They all kind of run around. It seems like we're all kind of friendly somehow.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah, cut that shit out. Yeah.
So then what were some of your, you said you worked at MTV. Was that during college or after college?
During college. So it was my internship, and then kind of I basically tried to stay there the entire time I was in college, and then a little bit after.
So then that was your first job, basasically?
That was my first job. Yeah, I mean, like really. Okay, so I worked at the Gap in Benetton when I was in high school.
Right on.
Maybe a couple. I mean, that was basically it. And then MTV. And then that was really it. I started my own business here in Raleigh in '94, the art company. And yeah, that's it. I've never really had a real boss per se. I mean, nothing significant at least. So.
Right. So what were like the early days of art company then? So what were you working on? Like what were your main...
Dude, I mean, all right, so entrepreneurship, in the beginning, don't let anybody tell you it's easy because it's a lot of suffering. When I moved down here, I actually lived in a warehouse with my girlfriend at the time, fiance, wife, whatever, ex-wife. Anyway,
right.
But we had, it was cool. We lived in a warehouse on Yonkers Road next to the dollhouse, which is hilarious. Lived in there for 9 months, basically slept in the office, makeshift. I thought I was going to turn into some Soho loft and make it super dope and all this shit. Bull crap, man. That didn't work out.
Right.
Because, we couldn't afford it. I mean, I was selling artwork out of the back of my car, just hustling, doing anything I could to make money, anything, And it was tough at first. But then this guy came in, this Italian guy comes in my warehouse, and he's like, hey, you make art. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yep. He's like, he happened to be opening a restaurant, Casalinga, on Capitol Boulevard. And he's like, I want you to paint a mural. So that was the first project I really ever did, or commission I really ever did in North Carolina. And then after we did the mural, the walls looked like shit around it. And he's like, what should we do with this? I'm like, got to get rid of this wallpaper, man. This shit's tacky as hell. So we did some fresco finishes. And, next thing you know, 30 paintings later, I just kept on doing paintings for this guy because there's so many holes in the place. And that really kicked my career off. And then, it was they had great food. So all these interior decorators and realtors and builders would come in and have lunch, and they'd be like, who the hell did all this work, man? This doesn't even seem like anything I've ever seen in Raleigh. That was in '94. And I was getting hired to do all kinds of crazy high-end homes, like painting murals on ceilings.
Right.
That was a big part of it. It's like, everyone wanted fucking angels and clouds on their ceilings.
Really?
Well, it's like I think in the 90s, the faux finishing thing was really big, and everyone wanted this decadent, everyone had tray ceilings with, humongously high ceilings, and they wanted to feel like you were in the Caesar's Palace or some shit, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, whatever. But, it wasn't my style at first, but, I'm pretty adaptable, so I made it my style. And that was where it kind of started. And then I always had the film industry I was kind of always in and out of this whole world with MTV and whatever. So I had an art show in New York, and Sex and the City, they were doing their first pilot season, I guess, whatever. And they came in and they wanted to use my art for their shit. I was like, okay, cool. And that was that was really enlightening. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, that's a whole different direction, you know, other than the painting the murals on ceilings and doing faux finishes. That was like, oh, cool, man. I'm getting back into the film thing inadvertently. While at the same time, Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach, you know, I was always surfing at the beach. That was our closest beach to here. And it was like the film industry back then was booming.
Oh, yeah, because Dawson's Creek.
Yeah,
and
One Tree Hill and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, all these random movies were being filmed there. And, yeah, I just kind of sped into that lane too, you know? So it was like kind of doing all that stuff. Carolina Hurricanes came to town, and they set up shop here. And when they did, they contacted me about doing some artwork for the Hurricanes and then some stuff for the arena. And I don't know, man, it just snowballed, you know?
So basically the moral of the story, marketing wise, is word of mouth, it sounds like.
For me, like, yeah, in my world, yeah, all word of mouth, definitely. Because a lot of it was high end too. You know, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't really for everybody, but, you know, but wealthy people seem to talk to each other.
Right.
You know,
Sure. Well,
similar
similar circles. Yeah.
similar circles. And then, like, you know, in the commercial world too, like, I was just doing lots of murals in nightclubs and restaurants and designing stuff like that. And, you know, it seems like all those guys know each other too. So.
Do you remember what you charged for that first restaurant on Capitol?
Not nearly enough. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I mean, I swear, dude, I don't think I made 2 pennies. I think I charged $2,500 for that mural.
Wow.
Which is like, you know, that mural should have been, I don't even know, 15, 20 grand. It was like, you know, a lot. It could have been a way, but I didn't know any better back then, you know? I was hungry. I was living in a freaking warehouse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And $2,500 felt like $1 million to me at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, so like, how does that work these days with murals? Because like you've done a lot of profound stuff, like side of Lincoln Theater and places like that, like over the years. Is it like literally price per square foot, or like how do you?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the.
How do you figure out your pricing?
That's kind of the basis, you know. Like so, it really every job is kind of like a one-off type of thing. So it's really a per job thing. But as a rule of thumb, like I don't really start for I wouldn't do anything get out of bed for $25 a square foot, or you know, I mean that's a starter, like just a start. Usually it's about 50 or 100 a square foot. Like I did one on the rooftop of Rex Hospital, the new cardiovascular hospital. It was 100 feet long, and it was on perforated metal, so it's like metal with holes in it, and it was on the roof. So it's like
that sounds like a nightmare.
It was windy as fuck. I mean, it's like trying to spray paint into a hairdryer. You know, I mean, it was nuts, and that was $100 a square foot. So I mean, I got paid on that one, which is nice. You know?
Sure.
Thank you guys, but you know, that's. You know, the hospital, I've been doing lots of work for hospitals lately, which has been nice. And that has afforded me some nice things because, you know, I mean, they have a lot of money.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
You know,
what does a project like that take, time-wise?
Time-wise, you know, honestly, painting murals, I wouldn't say the easiest part, but it's definitely easier than actually getting the job and going through the process of working back and forth with not just the designers and the contractors and architects, but like also with the hospital itself, the administration, you know, like their people, their marketing, you know, it's like getting everyone in the planet to agree on the same shit is very hard to do sometimes, you know? So that's the challenge. And I think like for, let's say Rex, that was probably 8 or 9 months in the making to get to the point where they could all agree on the same, you know, rendering. And then when I had to do it, then it took me a couple months to do. Because by the time they agreed on it, it was like wintertime. So it was like, you know,
now it's freezing.
It's hard to paint. Yeah, you know, it's snowing and raining and all that crap, and it's cold. So, like, you know, not the most ideal time to paint, but I got it done.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that because it's almost kind of like most businesses. Like the hardest part of owning a business is like the actual business part.
Right.
You know, it's finding your customer. You know, like that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. It's not the work. It's not the creativity. It's not the materials.
Right.
It's like,
getting the people that are going to
how do I get you to buy this?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And getting the message out there. I mean, it is really tough. I mean, it can be tough, you know, especially like like I said in the beginning, like when before I finally got Costalinga, it was really hard to just, you know, I mean, I was literally knocking on doors, you know, going business to business. Like I felt like a dirtbag. Like, you know, that wasn't really ever my scene, but like I learned really quickly that I came down the South and I didn't really know anybody here, so I didn't really have anyone to help me or guide me or say, hey man, go call homeboy, blah blah blah, or knock on this dude's door and whatever. I mean, it was literally cold calling, and you know, And if you're trying to start a business and you're not willing to do those types of things, then you probably shouldn't be in business. You know, that's why you're going to be a worker bee. So
It's a hustle.
it's a hustle, man. It's a grind, but but the payoffs is amazing. You know, I mean, like, some people ask me, like, how can you go through life without having a paycheck or not knowing where your next, gig's going to be and this, that, and the other? I'm like, well, after several years of doing it, you kind of get less worried about doing it because it just seems to happen, and you get more comfortable with the idea of that. But, if you're a startup, man, I'll tell you, strap it on, because it's, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
But, once you get your feet wet and you get in it, then you'll find your groove.
Yeah.
You'll know if you're made for this or not.
Yeah, the weeding out process is second to none. So with kind of the faux finishes that you do and ever have done in the past are there's like a photorealism to what you do, obviously.
Yeah.
And then now you're doing stuff like surfboards that are, even though they're polyurethane boards, you're making them look like real wood.
Yeah. Things
of that nature. Like, where did that inspiration come from? Like the photorealism part?
Well, it's kind of crazy. One of my first friends I met down here is this dude, Nick Turcotte, cool dude. He's a woodworker, and he was like a fine woodworker. So he wasn't just like he was built some crazy, really exotic furniture with really exotic woods. And, so he kind of schooled me on those things. I mean, like, like figured walnut, figured maple, sepali, like all these crazy species of trees and, like, the characteristics and all that stuff. And I'd watch him work, and he'd teach me some things. And I remember one time I was on a surf trip in South Carolina, at Charleston, Folly Beach. And I went out to look and see if there were some waves, just for the hell of it. And there were. It was like, probably chest to head high. And I was like, oh my God, man, I got to go paddle. So long story short, I bought a used board. And I mean, it had duct tape. It looked like total crap, man. So I brought it home, and I was like, man, I got to do something cool to this thing. It's like, man, you should make that look like wood. I was like, that's a fucking great idea, man. So, I just, I kind of like took cues from his marquetry and all that stuff, and like all the different ways that he'd do his inlays. And I was like, all right, let's just try and do this. So I faux finished my first surfboard, and I'd take it out in the water, and everyone's like, holy shit, that thing looks badass, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, thanks,
So this is like 20 years ago.
Something like that, 15, a while ago. And then I'd always get these people would ask me to paint their boards or whatever. And then, I was also really into Chris Crafts and wooden boats and all that stuff. I had one. And so I kind of applied some of those, whatever looks and techniques to the look of the boards. But I also wanted the surfboards to have like that functionality and lightness, because I love wooden boards, and but they're inherently a little bit heavier, and they don't, it's a different type of ride, I guess. So, I work with lots of other shapers and friends of mine that shape, and they're like, dude, man, if you can just keep it light, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep this shit light, but I'd make them look like these heavy ass wooden boards. And people were just like, holy crap, man, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw one, I was completely tripped out by it. I was like,
Thanks,
because
man.
I picked it up, and I was like, you ever picked up a glass that you thought was full of like
right.
liquid or like a mug or something? You end up like lifting it like super fast above your shoulder.
Right.
That's what I did with your board. It was at your house like years ago, and I was just like, holy smokes, what did you do to this thing? Like, what kind of wood is this?
It's balsam, man. It's balsam.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So just based on approach, right? Like with your surfboards or a mural or a one-off painting that you're doing, like does your approach change creatively? Or, I mean, obviously techniques have to be a little different based on the surface you're using, but like how's the creative approach different?
Well, I mean, this is where kind of like the clients and their requests are a major influence on that. Right. So, if someone's asking me for something that's more on the classical tip, and they want a fresco or like some kind of frieze work, then I'm going to approach it from like a modern masters type of, whatever. Think back to the Michelangelo days and all that stuff. And like, I try and see it from that eye, polar opposite though. Like, I do lots of also abstract stuff, which is, it doesn't even make sense that I would go back and forth between the two, but I really like both of those styles a lot. Sure. And, that is more like, drink a lot of wine, whatever. Do whatever you have to do.
See an image.
Yeah.
Whether it exists or not.
Don't sleep for a couple days, and then, just start making cool art that, whatever happens, happens. So, that's more of a less technical type of thing. It's just more of like a feeling, you know. But I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, like for me, I like to drink wine, you know, and I also like to stay up late at night when there's no one around, you know. Like I don't mind painting in front of audiences, whatever. I do a lot of live painting, but like when it really comes down to brass tacks, it's like, you know, I need to be kind of alone. I like to catch a little buzz, you know, and just kind of stare at things for a little while, and then, you know, things kind of just happen. It's really weird, hard to explain. But
well, I mean, I feel like that happens a lot with a lot of artists, like being influenced by different
musicians,
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
any creative, you know.
As far as like the business side of things, early days versus nowadays, how has the business side changed?
Man, okay, so the internet has changed a lot of things, you know, social media, like getting leads, you know, not that, I mean, all my stuff's all word of mouth, but like getting the message out, like, you know, I used to have to carry around a portfolio, and show people, you know, or send them copies of my, you know, whatever, like if I had a client far away, you know, I'd put together a special portfolio based on the project, whatever. Now it's like everything happens at a click of a button.
Sure.
You know, your reach is so much, everything's so much easier to just reach people because obviously the internet. Which is also good and bad because, you know, I feel like the internet has also kind of taken away lots of jobs and like made things just not exist anymore. And so it's just like the whole landscape of business is totally different. Like, you know, back then it was all shaking hands and, you know, whatever, flying out to see people and, you know, which is cool. I love that. You know, I love lots of that I miss, you know, but
the networking.
The networking part, yeah, and like, you know, going to trade shows and, you know, like whatever, getting
like the human level to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but then again, you know, it's nice to be home. The older I get, you know, I really like to be. It's nice to work from home. It's like, you know, nice to not have as much pressure of scheduling, you know, or like, you know, scheduling trips out of town.
So unless you're doing a mural, do you do most of your work here?
I work a lot here, you know.
So you don't have a studio?
I have a studio in 5 Points.
Oh.
And that's where, you know, the printers and plotters are at over there, and we have big tables for, you know, it's not super sexy, but, you know, whatever. It's a workspace, right?
Right, sure.
But honestly, like when I'm doing a lot of my stuff, I do on my trusty iPad, you know, nowadays.
Like for concepts?
Concepts, yeah, like, you know, Photoshop renderings and all that stuff, you know. Whereas, that's another thing. Back in the day, like, I didn't really use computers back then to do concept drawings and all that stuff. Like, you know, it was always sketches and whatever. And, you know, Photoshop and all my Adobe stuff, I mean, that helps quite a bit. You know.
So your early days of concepting, was it pen? Was it pencil? Was it
pen, pencil? You know, I do, yeah, I mean, ink drawings and paintings too, you know. Like, you know, I'd actually paint the space.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like instead of like getting on Photoshop and like creating, you know, doing a concept rendering, I mean, I'd actually like paint it, draw it with pencil, ink it, and then, you know, paint on top of that. Basically like a painting.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like an
man.
early mural, did you do it like small scale, like on a canvas first and then just blow it up?
It would evolve, you know, it'd start out as a sketch, sometimes on a piece of paper or a napkin, turn into, you know, on then the paper, translate that into, you know, whatever is next, you know, sometimes presentation boards. And yeah, I mean, but thank God I don't do that shit anymore.
Right. This episode is brought to you by Passion Fine Jewelry, located in Solana Beach, California, specializing primarily in independent watches, as well as fine jewelry, as the name would imply. Owners Tim and Jana Jackson have certainly created a home-like feel in their store, a very welcoming place, and they are chocked full of knowledge. So if you're ever in Southern California, do make it an effort to stop by. Otherwise, you can learn more at passionfinejewelry.com. And then Tim's blog is a wealth of information as well at independentendtime.com. This episode, like all the others, is also brought to you by Standard H. Please help support the podcast by visiting standard-h.com, where you can pick up a hat, a t-shirt, a pair of shorts, heck, even a sticker. In addition to that, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at standardhpodcast@gmail.com. Up to this point, I've failed to mention that. So if you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to hit us up. I'll be the one answering, so just let me know what I can do for you. Now back to the conversation with Clark. So I know with a lot of large format artists, they use things like projectors to project an image and then paint over it. Do you go about it that way? Or so how do you do like 100-foot wall?
So a lot of the time, so I'll take my concept rendering, and then I'll basically stand back. This sounds crazy. I'm old school like this. Or
You literally just step back,
I'll
go
step
to
back.
it.
I'll take a 30-foot paint pole and put some chalk, like a sidewalk chalk, and tape it to the end. Stand back and just draw it. You know, like I'll look at my initial drawing, and I've drawn it so many times at that point that I pretty much got it down. You know, just scale it right
From
back.
scale, yeah. That's crazy.
Sometimes I'll do these. I wouldn't say call it gritting it out, because a lot of people will literally grit it out. Like I'll put little notch marks, you know, every like 5 feet or something like that, just for reference, to help. There are times too when I use stencils. You know, like I was always against using stencils forever. I always thought that was like cheating and shit, but everyone on the planet does it now, and it makes business go so much faster. So murals go way faster that way, and I've embraced the idea of doing that. So I do that sometimes too, but that's usually just for elements of the mural. You know.
Now, so have any of your murals or artwork or anything, like, have you ever, I mean, I don't know if you compare yourself to anybody, like the guys that are doing like street art, for example, like I wouldn't lump you in that category.
Yeah, no.
Have you been into Brooklyn?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Bushwick,
It's been a
to
minute,
like
yeah.
to see all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was in New York about a month ago or so, and my buddy gave me a whole tour of like the Bushwick Collective.
Oh, cool.
And it was just super cool. I mean, just really, really differentiated in styles, but is all appreciated, right? So, is there any like classification or like,
You know, it's
how
funny
do you
say that,
classify your
because
art?
I to this day I don't even know what to call. I really need to, I wish I could define what my style is, because I really don't know. I mean, I even ask other people sometimes. I'm like, hey man, I mean, I don't
What do you call this?
What do you call this shit? I don't know. Whatever. It's fucking cool art.
Right.
But honestly, like, you know,
Not that it needs a label.
it doesn't necessarily. Like, you know, it's funny. Like I would with the fresco stuff. You know, the classical art. It's like that stuff is like it is what it is. You know, and that's cool. But I don't know. It's somewhere between pop art meets, you know, I don't know, some photorealism meets
Cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like you've got so many elements to your pieces.
It's I don't even know. Yeah, it's weird. I think I feel like I've taken a little bit from some of my influences and kind of, you know, just jumboed it up. You know?
Who are some of your early day influences, or even today?
I mean, I love Maxfield Parrish. I like Andy Warhol a lot. I like Michelangelo. Those are probably the tops right there. I mean, there's so many.
There's some heavy hitters.
But I like Roy Lichtenstein. I like a lot of pop art, you know. But I honestly, I can't really tell you what I really like the most. It's just so hard to.
Well, it's also different.
Yeah, it's really I like a lot of things. So.
That's cool. So, what are you listening to music these days?
Oh shit, man! I don't know. That's also very different.
Yeah.
I love Lettuce. I don't know if you heard of this band called Lettuce, but they're awesome. I like Widespread Panic. I like Primus, of course. I still like all the old shit that I
Yeah, Widespread Panic and Primus are like completely different vibes.
Totally. But you know who I really like a lot is Anderson .Paak, man. That dude's a fucking beast, man.
Yeah.
I love his shit. You know, it's funny too, where my studio is at over here, Ninth Wonder. I don't know if you know Ninth.
I know a buddy of mine has produced with Ninth Wonder, and I've had another buddy who recorded with him, I think, a couple times. I've never met him, though.
He does a lot of stuff with Anderson .Paak and Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, who's from there.
Yeah, J. Cole's a Raleigh guy.
I mean, he's like, you know, Ninth Wonder. He's Patrick. He's like a scholar. You know, he's like kind of like a hip hop scholar. You know, he teaches lectures at like Harvard and like, you know, Columbia and like
No
Duke.
kidding.
You know, like he's a fucking badass, right? So not only is he like a hip hop producer, but he's also like this mentor. You know, and he's like one of those type of people. But he's always produced stuff with this girl named Rhapsody. You ever heard of Rhapsody?
I have.
She is just coming out of she just got signed with Rock Nation with you know, Jay-Z, and they're on the other side of the wall of where my studio is over here. So
Oh, no
I
kidding.
hear them making beats all the time, man.
Really?
You know, and like, you know, I never want to interrupt them, but every now and then, you know, they'll be outside talking, you know, and we'll chit chat and all this stuff. But hearing them make beats on the other side of the wall quite often is also kind of like, holy shit, I can't, you know, because when they're doing it, I don't even know who the hell they're working with. You know, it's just like it's just, I hear drum, bass, you know, the tracks and all that stuff, and somebody's freestyling over top of that, but I never really know who it is until like months later when the shit goes out. I'm like, holy crap, that was fucking Kendrick Lamar or like, or J. Cole or whoever. I'm like, so that's kind of cool too. I'm into that stuff as well.
That's amazing. I'm surprised they're not in a soundproof room though.
Well, they are, but they're in they have isolation booths, I guess, over there, but we can still hear that shit on the side. So they don't hear us, but we hear them.
Right.
It's really bizarre. Yeah, you have to come over and hear that sometime.
Yeah, I'm totally into that.
It's funny. It's like the boom and bass. Like when they're digging down low with some crazy bass, like shit's rattling on our walls. Like all the artwork on the walls, like it's
right.
funny.
So these days with the business that it is, and outreach being mostly social media and electronic for that matter, like what are some of the hardest parts nowadays? For you?
Hardest parts nowadays. Honestly, man, it's like trying to get my schedules tight. I have a lot of work, going on kind of at the same time, almost all the time, and juggling. Because a lot of it's like new construction or like a renovation, or someone bought a restaurant and they want to turn it into another restaurant. And, I'm kind of at the mercy of my contractors or whoever's in front of me. So like if I have to paint a mural, I got to wait for so-and-so to get done,
with the drywall
sheetrock,
or whatever.
Whatever. So, and everybody wants their shit yesterday, so it's like everyone's like, and everyone's in line basically. But if I'm on one project and let's say something happens or where I need to go to another project that's same week, if somebody fucks up over here, then it fucks up my whole entire schedule,
Right.
So, that would probably be the hardest thing, is just juggling schedules,
I know, like with a wholesale business in apparel, at least, like it's such a pain in the butt being a bill collector. Does that ever enter the picture for you, or are you like, yo, I need this money up front? Or
okay, for me, like, so generally speaking, it's like in my contract, it's half up front,
right,
and the rest when it's done, plus
sure,
materials and whatever. I've been very fortunate for the most part. My clients are all, no one really fucks me over. There have been a few that have tried, but for the most part, or they'll drag me out, and because their money's tight, but we always work it out. So it's probably less of a problem for me than it would be, for some other people.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, but sometimes when you have these long-term projects, where you're designing, like, let's say, doing work on a hotel or something big, and it's ongoing, then it's like, it's billable hours.
Yeah.
And then the hardest part about that is really doing the administrative shit, which I fucking hate doing.
Right. Right. The bookkeeping and all that.
Yeah, and all that.
I can't stand it either, man.
Yeah. I've had other people do it, and then I've tried to do it myself, and honestly, whoever is doing it doesn't really matter. It's still a pain in the ass.
Sure.
Right, Phyllis? Oh, Philly, boo-boo, come here. I know you're excited.
It's all good. So then I guess I would ask you what's the easiest part, but I'm sure that's just the work.
The easiest part is the networking part.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I mean, I'm really good at it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm really good at, it's like, that's the fun part. Like meeting people and like, a lot of it, I own a wine shop too, and I'm really into wine and all that good stuff, and I'm a foodie.
What's the name of your wine shop?
Wine on Main. That's in
Wine on Main.
Wine on Main.
Oh, in Clayton.
In Clayton, yeah.
So that's about 20 minutes
from here, yeah.
Southeast from here.
Sure is. So, the whole having great meals and, drinking great wine and, meeting clients in that environment, it's like one of my favorite things on the planet. So
absolutely,
that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Fun and easy part.
Well, I was just about to say, like, you've been a partner in several retail ventures.
Yeah.
How have those like kind of come in and out of the picture?
Well, okay, so
just through networking, I'm assuming, or
random friends,
Yeah.
like Devolve, that kind of came through a dude, a friend of mine that I met in Wilmington, and he just had this great idea for a shop, and I was like, hey man, write a business plan,
Yeah,
if you
sure.
really want to make it happen, dude, just fucking do it, whatever. And he really didn't know what to do. He didn't, that's not really what he knew anything about. He just was dreaming about this awesome business with motorcycles and clothing. And so I kind of got him motivated. I said, hey, write that business plan. Why don't you go talk to the Chamber of Commerce? And there's all kinds of free help out there that you can get, And so he did. And he wrote a business plan. I said, and I kind of made this like half-hearted promise. Hey man, if you write a good enough business plan, I'll help you find the money, man. You know, I've got some pretty wealthy clients, and I run in these circles. You know, venture capitalist money's out there. And he did it. And I was actually hanging a surfboard up for a buddy of mine who has a marketing ad agency downtown here, and he was asking me what else I've been working on, and I was like, well, dude, interestingly enough, man, my buddy wants to start this company, blah, 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 motorcycle thing. And he's like, holy shit, my dad used to race vintage motorcycles, you know, back in I was a fucking garage rat or a motor, you know, whatever, wrench head or whatever. And I was like, really? I was like, holy shit. And he's like, I'd love to take a look at it. So I put them on, we all got in the same room, and there's that, you know, then we opened up Devolve, you know. Right. Furniture. I had a furniture store at Porto in North Hills, and that was because I was doing all these, you know, I was doing a lot of interior design and painting murals for all these wealthy clients back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we were doing a lot of work for this store called Domicile, and I mean they were just
that was in Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Then they did 5 stores in 5 years, and you know I did help design all the stores, did all the mural work, and you know. That was like a major big client for me, and they would also feed me work in their markets. Wherever there was a store, there was a bunch of leads for Clark, you know, so it was awesome. But, you know, I guess they probably overextended, and they went out of business. And here we are with a bunch of clients looking for awesome shit. And this is when North Hills was getting renovated.
First opened, yeah.
Or
reopened.
They turned into indoor-outdoor instead of a mall. They kind of turned into what it is now. And they approached us and they said, hey, man, you guys want to open a store here? Like another Domicile. And we're like, no more Domicile. But they're like, well, you know, and they offered us money and they gave us upfit money and all this shit. So we're like, hell yeah, let's just do this. So a couple of the people that were working at Domicile, 2 other partners and myself, we went in and did this thing. And that was like just I don't even know where that came from. It just came out of nowhere. But, you know, so we did that for a while. And, you know, then the economy took a shit.
Right, yeah, because that was early 2000s.
Yeah, so 08, 09, whatever, 10, something like that. You know, that was the end of the furniture business. You know, when the whole real estate market went to shit, you know, obviously.
When there's nowhere to put the furniture.
Yeah, there's nowhere to put the furniture. There's really no one buying the furniture. So.
Right, that makes sense.
But, you know, businesses come and go. But the art thing for me has always been the constant forever, you know. And I've been very fortunate. You know, I mean, I've been really fortunate that the people that are in my life, you know, my clients, they also seem to like the same shit. Like they like great food. They like to drink great wine. A lot of them like cars and motorcycles, you know, or and my beach friends, they all surf. And, you know, a lot of my surfer buddies are successful. So, like, you know,
So how long have you owned Wine on Main?
Gosh, 5 years now.
Now, do you have partners in that?
Yeah.
How many partners?
Temple, just one partner. Oh, cool. And, yeah, she basically runs the whole show over there. You know, like I helped her start the play. You know, we started together, and you know, once things got up and running, you know, that was always more her baby than mine per se. But you know, whatever, it's great. You know, it's nice because you know I'm so busy with what I do, and she is just really good with that. You know, running that business. She's a really good face for that business, and it's just we have a really good relationship in that regard. So. And I like to drink, so.
Right, yeah. Well, so what, is there anything that you particularly specialize in over there? Is it U.S. wines, like, you know, Napa wine, Sonoma, or are you all over the map? Or?
I mean, we do a little bit of everything, yeah. We're all over the place, so.
What are your favorite wines?
Oh, man, I like all my I still like my California cabs, all my homies out there, you know. I like that big stuff, but.
Sure.
You know,
So then, are you into French? Or are you into Italian, like a Barolo or anything like that?
Yeah, I like both of those. But I'll tell you, man, some of my favorite wines are still from Napa.
Napa
sounds crazy. Yeah.
What's your go-to? Do you have one? If you were to go into your store right now and pick out a cab, what would you reach for?
Ooh, wow, that's a toughie. I'd probably reach for some Reynolds. I like my buddy Steve Reynolds is a badass winemaker. My other buddy Pax Maley, he's also a badass winemaker. He's got some cool stuff too. But like, I think those are my 2 go-tos. Everything that they make is good across the board.
Now, have you done any art for these guys too, out in Napa?
Yeah.
At the wineries, like faux finishes, or
no, I've done paintings for these guys, and then like actually, these barrels right here, they're getting ready to go out to Hillsburg, I think. Where are they going? They're going somewhere out there.
So these are little miniature barrels that have basically an ink drawing on them.
Yeah, well, those are the beginnings. Yeah, those are.
So then those will become paintings.
Yeah, so that's me just like kind of drawing them out first, but
sure.
And the funny thing is, those are actually bourbon barrels.
Oh right.
Yeah, but wine is very similar.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean,
I'll take a photo of these and post it on social.
Cool. Yeah, and again, like this is kind of funny. Like so, ironically, this is my 25th year. This is like right now. So this is kind of like a series that's kind of going through all the stages.
So that's why the 25.
Yep, that's that. So that's kind of like the signature piece that I think it's going to be. And then you got like this one over here, like this one with the fire. Like these are like that's a pop art. It's going to be a pop art-ish. Let's see. That's
like the Spitfire Bearing Company.
Kind of, yeah, exactly, ish, right? And then Across the Skies, the one that's next to that, that was a whole other phase. I did a series of those, like in the late 90s. Right. That one that's kind of has like this koi fishy looking whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of looks like a koi fish.
That's like the surfboard, like I'll remember that series that I did with the surfboards like that. Yeah. And I'm gonna keep going. So it's like basically I'm trying to tap all the phases of my artistic career. Like there's going to be a bunch of these barrels. But,
that's awesome. Are you doing 25 of them?
I don't think I'm going to do 25. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think the short-term goal was 10, but 25 sounds right. But I'm like, well, I don't know.
Numbered 1 through 25?
1 through 25. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that for you, buddy.
I just doubled your workload.
Yes, you did. Thanks. Maybe. Thanks-ish.
That's hilarious. So you mentioned the recession. Mm-hmm. What role did that play? Obviously on the furniture business, but what about your art business?
It was tough all the way across the board, man. I mean, because my world is all mostly high end, like almost all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, when the recession hit, it's like a lot of those, millionaire one day, fucking bankrupt guys the next day, and it's everywhere. I mean, I saw a lot of my successful friends go down in a blaze of glory. It was tough. So. Yeah, it sucked. I mean, being an artist, being an artist is tough anyway. It's tough. I don't give a shit what you say. It's not easy to be an artist and really, make a living doing it. Right. But when you have your few wealthy clients, going broke, then it gets really sad, So it was tough, man. I just, I had to dump a few things. I had some property I had to get rid of, and all my toys. I sold, some cars and motorcycles and. Shit, I had I had a Warhol. I had some really expensive artwork that had to go. I was like, heartbreaking. But
wow,
fuck it,
Yeah, well, doesn't mean you can't get another one.
Yeah, I still have, I still got Dolly in there. I still have some nice art. Don't get me wrong, but there's some pieces that I had to get rid of just to really stay afloat. And well, whatever, And here we are. But it did teach me. It taught me how to live lean. Cut the fat, get rid of all the shit you don't need. You don't need the biggest fucking house. You don't need the most expensive everything. It's not really worth it, So,
I've always been a buy less, buy better fan.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, I always was too, but I always would buy more and buy better. But that's not fucking cool. I mean, it's just stuff, and I never, for me, I always thought that having more stuff was always so awesome, but once I went through all that and learned how to live without, and then you really figure out the things that you really need and like what things you actually use, right. And is liberating.
Oh, absolutely.
It really is.
It can be a weight off. Like that's what I love about moving. As much as most people hate to move,
right?
I'm gearing up for a move here shortly.
Okay.
And not far, but a move no less. And it's like I'm going through my closet the other day, and I'm like. I usually subscribe to this 12-month rule that if I haven't worn something in 12 months, because usually weather-wise, if no other reason, everything has presented itself in the last year.
True that.
If I haven't worn it, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's liberating.
It's funny because you've always been Mr. Fashion guy.
Right.
You've always so yes, yeah, you're very conscious of the whole, and trends and things that go with fashion. Sure. So I could totally see that. in you. I could see that you'd be the type of guy that be the perfect candidate for knowing when to get rid of stuff. Yeah. I am, on the other hand, and Brittany, my fiance, we're both kind of pack rats. Hate to say it. I don't want to say hoarders, but borderline hoarders almost, but not really. But we both go in these phases too, where we're like, okay, man, gotta dump some of the fat, man. This is bullshit, man. Come on now, there's no room in here. Yeah. So we do find ourselves, probably once every year and a half, kind of,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, so the funny thing, so you just got married.
Yes.
By the way.
Thank you, sir.
So did you guys live together before?
We did.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious, like how's combining both wardrobes, both sets of furniture and stuff.
That's a very easy answer, and I'll tell you exactly how that works.
What's up with that, man?
I'm into nice stuff, and she's not. So,
oh wow, really?
So we kept a lot of my stuff and some of her stuff where I was lacking in certain items, and otherwise she just doesn't care, and it's amazing.
That's kind of like Brittany.
Yeah, I married the right woman for
good
sure.
For you. Look at you.
Pound.
Boom.
Yeah, man, it's been good. And then as far as the clothing and such, however, it's 2 different rooms. She gets one room's closet. I gotta go to another room.
Yeah.
I don't get the master closet, but it's all good. No
I
worries.
mean, what else, But like you just said, you learn to pare down your shit, and like get rid of stuff and 12-month rule. And
yeah,
I know, like Brittany. Holy crap! Like my guest room. It's a guest closet now. It's her closet.
I would love to take a bedroom and just devote it to like, what is it, like California closets or whatever it is.
Right. Just one day.
Maybe they'll sponsor this. And
you hear? You heard? Hey, California closets.
Hook me up with some hangers or something.
A shelf or two.
So what are the things that sort of continue to inspire you today?
Music. Yeah. Good music really inspires me a lot. Meeting those musicians, like we go to lots of festivals, and I've been painting lots of guitars for these artists and different instruments for different rock stars. And when I meet another creative person, especially successful musicians, I don't know what it is, man, but there's some kind of vibe there. And I always come back after listening to their music and then meeting them and putting like a story to a song or whatever. It kind of inspires a visual in my mind sometimes, and that just takes me to a different place. Like, I feel like the other thing too is whenever I feel like I'm not that inspired, I'll go to the Museum of Art. Right. NC Museum of Art. We have a great museum here. We've got the CAM, and there's some really cool galleries around here. Or I'll go to DC or New York, or I'll go to the Hirshhorn. It's not too far away. But like sure. That's. And it's like funny. I see the same shit most of the time, but like I just get that click, like, oh wow, okay, duh, Clark. All right, open up your eyes here. I mean, remember?
Well, that's also kind of like when you watch a movie over and over and over, you start to notice different things. So even though you might be repeat, visits to the same art, even or the same building, like it'll solicit a different feeling.
Right. Well, there's subtleties that maybe you didn't see the first 12 times. You know what I mean? Like. And or you see it in a different, in a different season, and like the mood is different, and even like the, like if you're in a gallery and sometimes the light is even different, like then you'll see. For me, I see different strokes or different techniques that I didn't really notice the first billion times, whatever. So,
yeah, exactly.
So that's always cool,
So you mentioned the barrels, obviously, as being somewhat of a anniversary type of project. Yeah. What other pieces can you talk about, like that maybe up and coming or?
Well,
maybe on display for the public.
I mean,
or
a lot of it's all commission stuff. So lots of. I mean, I've got a ton of restaurant stuff. I've got some. Actually, what's really a fun one right now is a buddy of mine bought a church on St. Mary Street, and we're gonna turn that into his house, and it's gonna be badass. Like that's a really cool project for me because there's a lot of things I can kind of play with on that. The whole idea of a church, and like then you're getting into the fresco stuff, but then. He's ultra contemporary, so like kind of taking this very, very traditional church. It's all stone and old school looking, and then we're working with the architects and contractors to make it really modern on the inside. But then
that's
have
incredible.
Like, these little nods to, to the whole traditional classical art stuff. So that to me, that's a fun one. That's a really cool one.
Are you doing that with a local architect, or is it somebody outside of the area? Or?
Well, so yes, we started. Well, it's kind of funny we say that because we started out with one architect. We're kind of vacillating between. Like we picked out. Well, we started out with one architect, and I don't want to say anything just because.
Sure, no, that's fine.
I wouldn't call it the most exciting. We weren't super crazy impressed. So basically, we're juggling between a couple of
kind
others.
of vetting out a couple others.
Yeah. So there's
hey, dude, that happens though.
Yeah, how it goes.
That's reality.
It really is. But the funny thing is, he bought this church off of another guy who is an architect, and he bought this church, and he was going to do the same thing, but he could just he could never afford to do it. Like what he wanted to do was way grand, and I don't think he had the stomach or the finances to make that really see it through. So it was still remained more churchish than house-ish, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a whole different place.
I can't wait to see that.
So that's cool. And then we're looking at this. There's a project in Costa Rica. A buddy of mine he's a developer, and he wants to do a beach club. He owns this really gigantic eco park out there, and he's got 850 acres or something like that. So there's
on the beach.
Yeah, and there's like it's a so it's like on a cove, so you've got all the zip lines in the mountains which come right down to the water, and then you've got a couple hotels, and there's this really cool little kind of village city, whatever you want to call it, there, but there's really no beach club,
Does it get surf?
So it's right by Witches Rock. So it's
on. Oh my gosh!
So that's the Witches Rock is over here, and Cocoa Beach is on the other side of this cove. Like so, basically, like it's 20-minute. It takes 20 minutes to get to a good break, right. But where this resort is, it's really protected. So it's more of like chill spot.
So a beach club.
Yeah. Thus the beach club,
as opposed to a surf hotel.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But that's cool. 20 minutes, super close.
Yeah. It's close as shit. So. That's a cool one. So
that's awesome.
Right now we're still kind of inking the deal and raising the funds to do it. But
now are you a partner in that, or are you just kind of artistic?
Yeah, I'm the designer, and they're giving me points on this thing. So I'll
nice.
I'll get some equity in it, but maybe a couple points. I'm not a majority owner by any means, but but hey, whatever. To say I have a little piece of that would be freaking awesome. So right now we're just kind of structuring the deal. And knock on wood, everything goes good, but that's really cool. That's another cool one.
That's sick.
Other than that, I've got some more hospital stuff. I've got, some restaurant stuff, same old, but the church thing that one's kind of like, damn.
So have you broken, well, you haven't because you're still vetting the things. So.
Yeah, so he bought the building's his, right? And I've been working with him on his office. Like he also has a marketing branding company, whatever, and he's got a really cool office in North Raleigh, and we're working on that too right now. So that's I'm funny. I'm like, where do you want me to focus my energy? He's like, on the business first, because that's going to pay for the church.
Nice.
So
yeah.
He does well. It doesn't really matter, but
sure.
I love working with this guy though, because he's got really contemporary style. He's really open, and he's just a cool dude. He's also into the finer things. He's you're a car guy. He's got a Ferrari. He's got Porsche. He's got a ton of really nice cars, and he's a watch guy too. I know you're a watch guy. This dude's got like crazy watch collection, man. Like you'd have to meet this guy. He's something else. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Let's meet at your wine shop.
Yeah, we really should, man.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
telling
awesome.
You.
So you're a car guy. You're a watch guy.
Yeah,
what are you driving these days?
Porsche Cayenne Turbo.
Nice.
Love that thing, man.
There's some giddy up.
Yeah, man. So
And-
and
there's a motorcycle outside, I noticed.
I got a Triumph. Yep. It's a Bonneville, but I scrambled it out. I've got also have a CL350 Honda, like an old Brat, and then a CB450. So
Nice.
And I've had dirt bikes have kind of come and gone, like in and out of my life, all as a constant. Right now, I'm dirt bike free, but for now.
That's also one of those toys too. As you get older, it's kind of like, well, maybe I'll just stay on the road.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's funny
unless you're into like trail riding.
That's what I was gonna say. That's the scramble part of it. But like,
or like kind of the enduro stuff.
Yes, I always liked I mean, I liked YZ80s, 125. You know, like I like dirt. When I was young, I used to jump and do all kinds of crazy shit. You know, but I don't recover as fast. But you know, it's honestly crashing on the dirt or like on is a lot more forgiving than on the street.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, pick your pain, I guess.
You're not gonna potentially get hit by a car after falling on the dirt.
Yeah, no, exactly. So
yeah. And you got Breitling on the wrist.
Yeah. Today,
today's the Breitling.
Yeah.
What else are you into other than Breitling?
I mean, you know, I've got like 3 Rolexes. I got Breitlings. I've got you know what, though I wear every day is I have this Burberry watch. It's my everyday watch that I usually wear all the time to paint in and all that stuff. It's my favorite watch still to this day, I think.
What do you like about it?
It's reliable. Like, you know, like these, you know, you shake them and all that stuff. Like, I feel like they're always off a little bit. You're not, you know, unless you wear them all the time and you put them on your little shaker thingy. Yeah, I don't know. It's actually, you know what else too? It's funny. I wear an old Nixon too, my surf watch, and that's like, it's like the bulletproof, tried and true, man. I don't know. I mean, you know, not quite as sexy as the, you know, expensive shit, but I mean, like, you know?
It's a surf watch.
Yeah, man, it's a surf watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, dude. I got some. I'll show you later. But I mean,
that's cool. yeah. No, it's fun.
Know, I was, you know, I used to be more about the watches. Now I think as I get older, I'm more practical. You know, ish.
Right.
Ish.
We use that term loosely.
Very loosely. Well, actually, okay. So to case in point, so you know, always been into cars. You know, I've always liked nice cars, but I bought a Sprinter van. I bought a used ass Sprinter van outside, and it's a beater, man. I mean, podcast world. If you see this thing when I got it, it was like a fucking painter's van. It was a painter's van, dude. I mean, it looked like shit, man. But you know, 200-something thousand miles on it. 200,000 miles. 2006.
Is it a diesel?
Turbo diesel. It's got giddy up. And it gets 26 miles per gallon for a fucking van like that big. Is kind of crazy to me. But you know, I did my little homework, and they're like, dude, you know, this thing, you can get 500, 600,000 miles out of this thing. I mean, they're like fleet vehicles. You know, they're meant to drive and beat the shit out. So whatevs. But bought it cheap, and you know, I was gutting out the kitchen at the wine shop, so I took the cabinets, put them inside.
Oh, awesome.
You know, I mean, it's like my little freaking, like, and we go to lots of festivals, so it's our festy van, you know, so like.
Oh, so you sleep in it?
Yeah. Like,
oh, that's amazing.
You know, I converted it, so it's like you can live in this thing. I mean, you know, it's got.
Oh, I'll have to have you show it to me.
Got a sink and running water. It's got a stove and oven, and I even got like a little van can, you know, a little portable shitter, you know.
A van can.
We call it a van can. That's what we call it. We got, you know, it's got a portable shower. I mean, like.
That's
you know,
awesome.
It's you know, it's good. It's functional. It's fun. You know.
Yeah.
I murdered it out and wood grain the sides. I mean, you know, just because the paint was so shitty on it. I mean, I rattle canned the whole thing basically. I mean,
really? Just spray paint.
Well, it was funny because there's a rusty spot on there, and I was just sanding and priming it, whatever. And I was like, oh, that primer gray looks dope. I was like, so I did this 1/4 panel. I was like, oh shit. Let's do the whole thing.
Yeah,
so
this is happening.
I had a bunch of, like, you know, cases of fucking, you know, gray primer. I was like, fuck it, man. Just went to town, dude, and didn't stop until the whole thing was gray. And I was like, that looks cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This would look cool if it was flat black, though. So I went back and did the whole thing, you know, all over again in flat black. And then I was like, well, you know, there's that wood grain thing. So I tried wood grain the sides. You know, I still haven't finished, but I mean, you know, whatever. You can't tell. I don't give a shit, you know. It'll be a perpetual work in motion forever, I feel like. But
that's sick.
You know, it is really the polar opposite from the nice cars, you know.
Right. Well, yeah.
You know?
It's always nice to have that. It's like a beater watch. You know, it's like I want something I can wear, but literally don't care about.
Yeah.
If anything happens to it.
I hate trees, like, you know, whatever. I don't even give a shit. You know, I'll be, you know, like when you're driving like through the woods or, you know, and like
branches,
going camp branches, like,
yeah.
I'm like, you're like, oh my god, this thing is getting fucked up. Well, not in this thing. Like, I don't give 2 shits about that.
Does not matter.
I mean, does not matter at all.
That's amazing. That's sick. Well, listen, man, is there anything else you wanted to promote or talk about?
Man, no, not really, man. It's just, you know, keep a watchful eye for what I'm doing, man. You know, if you're on Instagram, Clark Hipolito, just look me up that way. Or
yeah, I'll link it, obviously.
Go to the website. Yeah. So artco.studio. But yeah, other than that, man, just keep on watching, dude. I'll be moving and grooving as always. So
that's rad.
Thanks for having me.
Clark, thanks so much, dude.
You're the man.
All right, talk to you soon.
See you, buddy.
I want to thank Clark once again for having me over at the house. Seeing all your work and your creative space was just unbelievably cool. Really enjoyed the conversation, my man. Always great to see you. Those of you who have been listening, thank you so much. Obviously, we can't do it without you. The episode's also brought to you by Clear Audio, CLEER audio.com. And for the music, thank you so much to Jensen Reed and Super Beautiful. Again, thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you next week. Thanks.